Hello, we are Team National University of Singapore. 17 landscape architectural students joined this workshop, ranging from undergrad year 1 to postgrad year 1. Singapore is an island country just above the equator with tropical climate, 5.7 million population. Also known as Garden City, our cityscape is characterized by rich greenery, safe neighborhood, as well as vibrant and diverse urban environments. So 17 students were split into 3 themes with 5 groups. First 2 groups focused on community, looking closely at quiet residential neighborhood called Tiong Bahru. Group 3 and 4 focused on cultural aspect, looking at Chinatown neighborhood. Lastly, Group 5 focused on commercial aspect, looking at Orchard Road shopping district.
Tiong Bahru, a quiet and charming estate, is Singapore's first public housing estate that was developed in the 1920s. With gentrification, traditional buildings, modern infrastructure, and contemporary buildings can be seen in this harmonious blend of old and new. A notable characteristic would be the older public housing flats built by the Singapore Improvement Trust, SIT, which is the colonial predecessor of the Housing Development Board, HDB. Being a residential area, it entails communal social spaces, facilities, and amenities for the community living here. These are photos taken at different spots in Tiong Bahru, from residential blocks to commercial complexes to parks and other communal areas. Lighting ranges from dark to bright, soothing to glaring. The lighting used in Tiong Bahru Park is mainly for functional purposes. A conventional lighting method is applied in the park. The design uses pole light extensively to light up the path and communal grounds, while using amenity lighting fixtures to light up the interiors of the play structure at the playground and the pavilion. In general, most spots in the park are lit up with around 4,000K LEDs to create a daylight glow in the park. However, some glaring pole lights are too bright and may make people feel uncomfortable. In addition, there is a mismatch of lighting and space. The lights used to light up the pavilion are too bright and glaring, making the pavilion a focal point compared to the darker surroundings, which may be the reason why people sit on the benches within the darker atmosphere and not use the pavilion at night. For the site of the second section, the diverse lighting in the commercial complex creates an active vibe and attractive focal point within the neighborhood. Different types of lighting can be found, such as signage, amenity lighting, and decorative lighting. The daylight glow lighting at the indoor cafeteria and the warmer lighting at the outdoor cafeteria are contrasting. The crystal white linear fixtures light up the path and define the boundary between outdoor and indoor areas. The blue signage on the second floor is a down light, which attracts visitors and indicates the location of the stores, and at the same time creates a signature for the commercial complex. The older public housing flats at Tiong Bahru were built by SIT around the 1940s. On the facade of the blocks, white bright LED lighting is used along the road and corridors. The LEDs installed in front of the door on each floor could be for safety reasons. In between the 2 blocks, white LED lightings are placed approximately 5 meters apart from one another. Besides that, the residents living on the ground floor have the opportunity to transform their courtyards into small gardens or cozy areas. The orange string lights create a more comfortable atmosphere where people can relax in. The newer public housing flats were built by HDBs in the early 2000s. The lighting in this area is bright. Most of the lights used at the point decks and along the path have standardized designs and colors. Several yellow pole lights are found along the corridors. When compared with the newer HDB blocks, the older SIT ones are darker and promote closer living and stronger kampong spirit. The Tiong Bahru Market and Food Centre building is very bright in general. It was observed that the stalls and stalls located on the first floor are closed at night. People only use it for the purpose of crossing from one end to the other, so the functional lighting present is perhaps unnecessarily too bright. The food center on the second floor has a higher level of usage at night compared to the first floor, as people can have meals, drinks, and dessert there. Some interesting features seen will be the outdoor dining area and the circles of light on the ceiling. At the outdoor cafeteria, each table has two spotlights under the umbrella fixed to it, where a patterned shadow is being cast on the table surface, creating a romantic and dreamy feel with the lighting. The ceiling is painted with different colors, such as yellow, orange, and blue, in circles with white light sources hidden in its surroundings. As a result, the temperature of the light reflecting off the different colored surfaces is changed, which ranges from cool to warm. It is a lively and fun installation that makes the place less dull. This concludes our site analysis of Tiong Bahru. Thank you!
Hi, we're Group 2, consisting of Kerry, Shuya, and Zhang. Our group's theme is community, and now we'll be presenting the site analysis for the neighborhood of Tiong Bahru. To brief you guys about the flow of the content, we'll analyze the site and its lighting conditions according to the location, color tones, and purpose. Then, we'll zoom in to compare the old and the new HDB estates. Let me do a quick introduction of our trail before we properly begin. We went from Tiong Bahru Park to a random but typical HDB estate, and then we went to a very old estate where the first few HDBs were built, ending the trip with a visit to the Tiong Bahru market. To better understand the distribution of light, our group did a plan drawing. As you can see, light in the community are generally very systematically distributed, as if they are placed on grids. They line the roads and pathways and are often of fixed distances from each other. However, we do observe certain spots with random lighting put out by the residents of the community that breaks off the grid. So for example, these spots, we saw some fairy lights, such as the one shown in the photo. Next, talking about the color tone, we feel that the color tone of the community generally tends to fall more on the cooler side of the spectrum. As seen from this picture, you can see how the very warm lighting of the overhead bridge creates a stark contrast with the cooler lighting in the rest of the pictures around the neighborhood. We find such lighting giving off slightly unwelcoming vibes. Purpose-wise, almost all the lightings in the community are purely for safety reasons. We do not see many lights for aesthetic purposes, and since they are mainly just functional rows, they do not vary much in types, designs, and forms, neither do they create much interesting views. They're just there to light up spaces. Comparing the old HDB estate with the newer one, the old HDBs have backyards where there are tall and dense vegetation, resulting in the space to feel more private. It is also due to this vegetation that the old HDB area felt darker since the plants blocked light. In comparison, the new HDB estate has less vegetation. The vegetation is also mostly kept low, below human height, making the space feel more open, public, and bright. Besides spatial attributes, the lighting between the old and the new HDB estate are also quite different. There are fewer lights in the old HDB estate as compared to the new one. Lights in the old HDB estate are cooler and dimmer than the ones in the new estate, giving off a very quiet feeling. One thing that we noticed though is that in both estates, there are DIY lightings that are put up by the fellow residents of the estates, such as these in the pictures. Some of these lights are in celebration of different festivals of different cultures, which speaks of the rich diversity and strong community spirit of the neighborhoods. Overall, we feel that the current lightings in the community have very limited function. They are mainly for safety and not really for aesthetic purposes, other than the fairy lights put out by residents, which are more for comfort and beauty, and sometimes celebration. There is also certain inappropriate distribution of the amount of lighting. Here you can see that there are very few lights along pathways in the old HDB estate. It feels unsafe to walk there at night due to the limited lighting available. In contrast, the wet market, which barely anyone would visit at night, has a lot of lighting, making lighting distribution inappropriate. This also applies to be inappropriate cases of brightness that we find around the neighborhoods. On top of the lighting brightness not really catering to the activities carried out in different spaces, we also find some uncomfortable and glaring lighting present in the precinct, such as this. Lastly, aesthetically speaking, the lights in the community exist as repeated and simple forms, which can be quite boring at times. And that sums up my group's analysis of the site. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kamsi from Group 3. My group consists of Jenny, Stephen, and myself, and our theme is culture. For our field trip, we visited several locations within the Chinatown neighborhood. After the field trip, we all agreed that this area is very culturally diverse, with religious institutions of different religions built within close proximity. We also took notice of the variety of and differences in lighting as we walked through these locations. We started off at Maxwell Food Center, which is opposite Fairfield Methodist Church. Then we visited a Chinese temple, the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple, followed by an Indian temple, the Sri Mariaman Temple. In between these places, we also briefly stopped by the Jinrikisha Station, which is a historical building, and other private shop houses along the streets. Both their unique architectural design and their different ways of lighting caught our attention. The three key locations highlighted in orange are all built along a secondary main road, the Soft Bridge Road, linking them linearly down the road. In our survey of the surrounding area, we mainly focused on the secondary road, the Soft Bridge Road, and the clusters of shop houses scattered around the area. This is a section of the Soft Bridge Road. This secondary road is significantly brighter than the other smaller streets. We believe it is to provide sufficient lighting for the heavier traffic of vehicles and pedestrians. The use of white light also makes it look brighter and clearer compared to the areas with dim yellow lights. Moving on, this is a section of the shop houses. Although they are rich in historical value, most of them do not have proper lighting to emphasize that. Some shop houses are lit because the shop front at level 1 were open. The light inside these stores become the main source of lighting that show the bottom part of the building at night. But for those that are closed, the entire shop house was engulfed in darkness. There was no lighting outside these shop houses to light up both the building and its walkway. It gives the pedestrians a dark and shady feeling at night. For the Maxwell Food Center, the lighting inside the center mainly rely on the lighting on the advertisement boards provided by the individual stores and the lights along the corridor. The advertisement boards offer a variety of lighting and colors, making it quite a unique trait of hawker centers. However, the lighting on the exterior was very poor. Its dim light is insufficient to attract people walking past the food center. Next, the Tooth Temple has a primary color scheme of red, white, and yellow in a classic Chinese style that can attract tourists during daytime. But due to the poor lighting conditions at night, its attractiveness is greatly reduced. The tall architecture is hidden in darkness at night because of the lack of sufficient lighting and a contrast between light and darkness. The lanterns outside the temple are only sufficient to provide lighting for those walking directly under. They are inadequate to add on to the attractiveness and distinctiveness of the site. The third site for the Mariaman Temple, which has colorful statues of gods. And the difference between the indoor and outdoor lighting is very drastic. The interior is as bright as daylight, while the sculptures on top of the building are barely visible at night. The temple is hidden in the surrounding small shops and the dazzling street lights. The mysterious atmosphere of ancient Indian temple is hence disrupted due to the lack of lighting. To conclude, we derive at least three main points. First, we wish to redesign the lighting for the various religious institutions. The emphasis is on highlighting this architecture from their surroundings and showcasing their distinct culture and style. Second, We also hope to improve the lighting on the street to better direct the tourists to the various cultural and religious sites. And lastly, we hope to create a stronger coherence within the entire Chinatown area through lighting design. With that, that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Our group site is Chinatown in Singapore. Chinatown had a concentrated ethnic Chinese population when Singapore was under the governance of the British. Although it is considerably less an enclave than it once was, the precinct does retain significant historical and cultural significance. Large sections of it have been declared National Heritage Site, officially designated for conservation by the Urban Redevelopment Authority. The path our group took starts from the Maxwell Food Center, followed by the Jinri Shika Station, Buddha Tooth Relic Temple, then along the Sago Street and South Bridge Road to the Sri Mariaman Temple, and finally completing our journey on the Pagoda Street. The most distinctive characteristic of the site is the shop houses. The shop house, a historical source of delight and nostalgia, is a prevalent building type in Singapore's architectural and built heritage. These buildings are generally 2 to 3 stories high, built in contiguous blocks with common party walls. They are narrow, small, terraced houses with a sheltered 5-foot pedestrian way at the front. These low-rise buildings resulted in the ratio of the height of the building to the width of the street being very small as compared to the surrounding central business district area. At the same time, lighting fixtures are experienced closer to the human height. With this, our group decided to focus on how different lights are experienced by tourists when they visit the site. Throughout our journey, we frequently use a 5-foot way, and it caught our attention that the lightings in these passageways has more potential to add values and experience to this feature. Outside one of the shops, the lighting is made into a Chinese style, corresponding to the interior design of the restaurant. The 5-foot way is separated into pieces as the different shop owners approach the path in different ways. For the case along the corridor under the Jinri Shika station, they used single yellow point lamp and lights do not shine directly on the path, creating a warm and welcoming atmosphere. Since this is a cultural heritage site, lighting fixtures such as lanterns are used. The color of light is unified, but the patterns on the lampshade are varied, creating a more vibrant point of attraction. The orange light strengthens the atmosphere of the Buddhism temple where the lanterns are placed. In contrast to the uniform lighting created by the lanterns, the lighting fixtures along the Sago Street lacks coherence. First, the lighting device includes a decorative festival lighting with bullock cart drawings. This Chinatown is known to the locals as Niu Che Shui, which translates as bullock cart water. The name is derived from the bullock carts in this area, which used to bring water from a nearby well. The second source of light is the iconical LED shop signboards mounted along the facade of the shop houses. The third source is a street lamp designed in an antique style, and the last is the lights from the shops under the shop houses. Although individually this lighting seems to fit in this cultural site, they conflict with one another when being put in the same location, creating an image of chaos and lack of proper planning of the lighting fixtures on site. Finally, we investigated the lightings for the individual shops along the street. The interior and outdoor lightings are generally glaring for them to stand out in nighttime to attract customers. White lights are more commonly used in storefronts. There is no common or standard way for installation of lighting fixtures, as there is different lighting requirements for the different shops. Thank you, and this is the end of our presentation.
Hello everyone, I'm Mia from Group 5, and together with me, I have my awesome teammates, Anna, Fangting, Olivia, and Nicole. So we're doing on the topic on commercial lighting, and we did our site visit along Orchard Road for observation, focusing on Ion, Neon City, Paragon, and 313. Moving on to the general analysis, we have grouped it into heroes and villains. For heroes are the points worth taking note of, whereas villains are the areas for improvement. For Ion, for the heroes, we have identified its spatial quality, that it's wide and spacious. It also uses moving lights to bring out the characteristics of Ion, which is energetic and eye-catching. For villains, there's no guiding lights on the steps towards the MRT entrance, which can be quite unsafe, especially during at night. For the road signage, it does not have any lighting, which is hard to see at night as well. And for Ion, the overall facade of the building, it has this overpowering intensity of the brightness with clashing colors, which sometimes is not pleasant for the eyes. And for the heroes for Neon City, throughout they use very warm yellow lighting, which creates a very cozy atmosphere. Whereas the villains for Neon City is the panels are not lit from the bottom and only reflect light from the building facade and the surroundings, which is not pleasant for the eyes. The heroes for Paragon, it uses good color coordination of the lighting, which creates a very amicable atmosphere. However, Paragon might want to improve on the maintenance of the whole lighting facade, because in usual times the whole facade should be lighted with stars looking like lighting, but this time around when we went on the site visit, only certain parts are lighted up. We've also categorized the lighting types. So for the first one, you can see it's the pole light, and towards the left, the light shines for the cars on the roads, and towards the right side, it shines for the pedestrians. We have also observed bubble lightings along Neon City, and for the greenery light, we've observed two kinds, as shown on the picture above, shining on plants. For pavement lights, we have observed staircase lighting along Wismar and Ion. For brand window and building facade, we've noticed that it usually can be quite bright and illuminates even the surroundings. So this is a topic we thought we could explore further about reducing the lamp posts just by using the lights probably from all these facades. And we've also observed ornamental light, which usually happens during festivity seasons. For the sections, this is the Ion section, and as you can see on the right side, we have the Orchard Ion, and moving on to the lighted staircase, and then pedestrian walk. In between, you have the road, the green belt, and facing towards Tang Plaza. For Ion, we would like to highlight on this screen right over here. It's too bright. It has 550 CD per meter square. These are the values we have taken during our site visit. For this section on the Ion staircase, it uses a combination of both bright and warm lighting. As we want to highlight over here, it creates a very welcoming ambience for the people. And whereas for this section on the right side, we would like to highlight on the brand shop lighting, the stacks lighting, and also the signage board lighting. So the overall throughout Ion, we find that certain spaces are not well lighted up enough, which could be unsafe and also cause a bit of confusion, especially towards the MRT entrance and entrance to the mall itself, because Ion is big and it has multiple entrances and exits. This is the section on Neon City. So as you can see, it started off with pole lighting, and then it uses water lighting, and then greenery lighting and facade lighting. So throughout the whole Neon City, they uses a very warm yellow lighting, which is consistent throughout, which is very cozy. This is the section on Paragon. So as you can see, it started off with green lighting, pole lighting, and facade lighting. So Paragon's facade uses very well coordinated warm lighting throughout as well, which is very pleasing for the eyes. This is our last section, which you can see it's a bit different as compared to the previous few. because this time the lighting is on the overhead bridge, and from the surroundings they actually capture on the car lights, which actually creates a more dynamic sense to the space. In conclusion, Iron uses very bright clashing color schemes, which is very vibrant and energetic. Neon City uses warm tone throughout the whole lighting, which is very cozy. Paragon, known for its sleek and contemporary building, uses well-coordinated warm lighting as well. And Orchard Gateway, which captures the attention of young shoppers, they uses bright, moving color schemes. And in overall, we feel that in order for the shops to bring out the identity using lights, it has to be complemented together with the style of the architecture, the material and texture of the facade, and together with the flow of the pedestrian and also the flow of the cars in the environment. We hope you have enjoyed our presentation. Thank you.